There's a quiet kind of contentment that some people carry like a secret armor. While the world rushes outward, chasing plans, parties, and the weight of social expectations, they stay in. Not out of fear, not from loneliness, but from a deep, almost sacred satisfaction found within walls that echo with familiarity. For them, home is not just a shelter. It is a carefully cultivated universe, a space where thoughts breathe freely and the chaos of the outside world is tempered by the rhythm of their own choosing. You might call it solitude, but it is something richer, something deliberate. To watch them is to see a paradox. A life fully lived, without leaving the room, a richness built not on exploration, but on immersion. And yet, many misunderstand it. They call it laziness or antisocial tendencies, when in truth, it is a different language of happiness, one that doesn't need applause or validation. Psychologists have long observed that the way people relate to spaces says as much about their inner world as their words ever could. The love of staying home is not merely a preference for comfort. It is often a reflection of temperament, values, and deeply ingrained cognitive patterns. Some find that the external world, with its relentless demands and unpredictable rhythms, triggers subtle anxieties or overstimulation. Inside, there is control, predictability, and room to breathe. There's a psychological sanctuary in the ordinary routines of home, the way sunlight falls across a bookshelf, the soft hum of a kettle, the quiet rhythm of an evening unfolding without interruption. This behavior matters because it challenges a fundamental assumption of our culture, that happiness is always tied to outward activity, to social visibility, to constant engagement. For these individuals, fulfillment is not external. It is carefully nurtured internally, often invisible, yet profoundly satisfying. Understanding this mindset invites a broader view of human well-being, one that honors introspection as much as interaction. One key reason many people thrive at home lies in what psychologists call introversion, but it is more nuanced than the simple label suggests. Introversion is not shyness. It is a preference for internal stimulation, a need to replenish energy by retreating from sensory overload. Imagine Sarah, a graphic designer, who has just returned from a bustling work event. The conversation, the lights, the laughter, they all linger in her mind like echoes, long after everyone else has left. Her relief comes in the quiet of her apartment, where she can sit with her thoughts, sketch ideas, or simply watch the rain. For her, staying home is restorative. It is not avoidance. It is renewal. The external world is rich, yes, but it is also exhausting in ways that only someone attuned to subtle internal cues can feel. Psychologists note that this need for solitude is often misunderstood. Society equates energy with activity, but for people like Sarah, energy is cultivated through stillness. But there is more than temperament at play. Some who cherish home have a profound relationship with memory and personal narrative. They build a world that is not only safe, but intimately their own. Every object, every scent, every corner carries layers of meaning. Think of Tom, who spends evenings rearranging his books, brewing particular tea, and listening to a playlist curated over years. To an outsider, these actions may seem trivial, even obsessive, but for Tom, they anchor him in a coherent personal story. Psychologists refer to this as the extended self, a concept where objects, spaces, and routines become integral parts of identity. His home is a living map of who he is, a tactile expression of selfhood that cannot be replicated in cafes, parks, or social gatherings. In these spaces, time slows, reflection deepens, and decisions emerge with clarity. Here, being at home is not isolation. It is a deliberate cultivation of self, an ongoing conversation between past experiences and present choices. The emotional dimension is equally significant. People who love staying home often report subtle but profound forms of satisfaction that social calendars rarely provide. The quiet thrill of uninterrupted focus, the gentle satisfaction of completing small rituals, the freedom to feel sadness, joy, or boredom without judgment. It is a kind of emotional literacy, honed by spending time alone, noticing fluctuations in mood, and responding with curiosity rather than escape. Some psychologists suggest that this attunement to one's internal life can foster resilience. When external chaos strikes, those who have practiced the art of inward attention may navigate stress with greater stability. They cultivate patience, introspection, and an appreciation for the understated moments, a sunset to the window, the first sip of coffee, the texture of a favorite blanket. These experiences, often invisible to others, are the lifeblood of their contentment. And yet, the love of home is not just passive. It often coexists with creativity, curiosity, and social engagement, but on carefully chosen terms. By retreating inward, they accumulate insights, reflect deeply, and return to the world with a sharpened sense of purpose and authenticity. The home becomes a laboratory of thought and emotion, a safe rehearsal space where life can be practiced, observed, and refined. It is in these spaces that ideas germinate, imagination flourishes, and a quiet sense of mastery takes root. They are students of themselves, quietly crafting a life that balances introspection with selective engagement, autonomy with connection. And as we step back for a moment, there is a gentle recognition. The people who love staying home are not merely avoiding the world. They are exploring it differently. Their landscape is internal, textured, and deliberate. Their joys are subtle, often invisible, yet deeply resonant. And while the rhythms of society may push outward, they remind us that richness, depth, and meaning are not always found in quantity, noise, or visibility. Sometimes they are found in a single chair by the window, a steaming cup of tea, and the quiet permission to simply be. In understanding this, we glimpse a subtle truth about human psychology. Contentment is not universal in its expression. Some hearts beat in harmony with crowds, while others dance in solitude. And those who love staying home remind us that life's most profound experiences do not require outward motion. They require presence, attention, and the courage to honor the rhythms of one's own mind. As we move forward, we will explore even deeper layers. The subtle anxieties that drive this behavior, the ways it shapes relationships, and the unseen strengths it cultivates. But for now, pause and consider this. Staying home is not a retreat. It is an embrace, a deliberate, reflective, and profoundly human choice. Beneath the surface of the love for staying home, there lies a subtle architecture of intention and instinct. For some, it is not simply about retreating. It is about calibration. Consider Mia, who arranges her days around micro moments of joy, a favorite song at breakfast, a short walk around her garden, a chapter in a book she has read 100 times. Each choice is deliberate, designed to harmonize her inner state with the rhythm of her surroundings. Psychologists might call this self-directed environment structuring, a practice in which individuals consciously shape their external world to nurture psychological stability. It is a quiet mastery, often invisible to outsiders, but profoundly impactful internally. The home becomes a sanctuary not by accident, but by design, a place where sensory input, emotional needs, and intellectual curiosity converge, each detail chosen to sustain equilibrium. Yet, there is also a hidden courage in this behavior. Staying home often requires resisting societal pressures that equate social presence with worth. Some may carry the expectation of constant engagement, of invitations accepted and calendars filled, yet they quietly decline. They reject the implicit equation of visibility with value, learning instead to honor the rhythm of their own mind. Psychologists have noted that this self-determination fosters resilience. By asserting autonomy over when, where, and how they engage, these individuals reduce susceptibility to external stressors. They are not withdrawing from life. They are selectively curating it, deciding which interactions will enrich them and which will dilute their energy. In this, there is a profound form of self-respect, an implicit trust in one's own judgment over cultural conventions. We also see a spectrum of behavioral nuances. Some who love staying home are explorers of imagination. They create worlds in books, music, or art, traveling vast distances while never leaving the sofa. Others find fascination in the tactile, the small movements that structure daily life, arranging objects, observing light, cultivating plants. There's a poetic attentiveness here, a devotion to noticing what most might overlook. Psychologists call this aesthetic mindfulness, a capacity to derive meaning and satisfaction from subtleties. And then there are those who live in quiet companionship with memory. Their homes are archives of selfhood, photographs, mementos, familiar scents, each a tether to personal history. For them, home is a living narrative, a landscape where past, present, and imagined future coexist. Some even find social connection more deeply from this inward stance. By spending time alone, they sharpen their empathy, reflect on their responses, and build emotional literacy that allows them to engage more meaningfully when they choose to. Their interactions, though selective, are often intense, deliberate, and authentic. Psychologists observe that solitude practice in this intentional way is not mere isolation. It is incubation. Insights form, perspective shift, and creativity emerges from the calm. And while others may see absence, they experience presence, a profound awareness of self, of subtle emotions, and of the world filtered through their own lens. There is also a delicate interplay between comfort and challenge. Those who love staying home are rarely static. They explore boundaries of curiosity and imagination without leaving their chosen space. They experiment with routines, challenge thoughts, and confront emotions that might go unnoticed in the whirlwind of social distraction. It is a quiet form of bravery, one that does not announce itself with fanfare. In the sanctuary of their home, they practice the art of living with attention, reflection, and deliberate choice. Their internal world is vast, rich, and often more demanding than any external adventure. Emotionally, this love for home connects deeply to resilience. The ability to be content with one's own company is a skill that nurtures emotional stability. When the outside world is unpredictable, those who have cultivated comfort at home retain a sense of control and equilibrium. It allows them to face challenges with groundedness, to return to social interaction from a place of fullness rather than depletion. In this, there is wisdom, the understanding that life's richest experiences are not always loud or grandiose, but often quiet, measured, and intimate. By honoring this rhythm, they develop patience, introspection, and capacity to savor subtleties that escape those perpetually engaged in external motion. There is also tenderness embedded in this behavior. Being at home allows for intimate emotional work, the gentle acknowledgement of fears, the small victories celebrated in solitude, the reflection on choices without judgment. It is here that self-compassion is most easily cultivated. Those who thrive in these spaces often have a heightened awareness of emotional nuances, a fleeting sadness, a quiet contentment, a sudden joy. They learn to witness emotion without needing to mask it for others, to sit with complexity without fleeing into distraction. And in this practice, they gain a type of inner courage, a willingness to inhabit their own lives fully, even when the world outside might demand performance or conformity. Perhaps most beautifully, this trait reminds us that human connection and human solitude are not opposites. They are complementary. By embracing home as a place of self-cultivation, these individuals model a form of engagement that is internal first, external second. They reveal that richness, depth, and fulfillment are cultivated, not collected. Emotional intelligence grows, creativity flourishes, and resilience deepens, all within walls that to some may appear confining, but which to them are liberating. So, what does this mean for us as observers, friends, or even as part of our own lives? Perhaps it is a call to question assumptions, that activity equates to happiness, that visibility defines worth, or that external stimulation is the only measure of a life fully lived. Staying home can be radical, intentional, and deeply human. It is a practice in noticing, choosing, and embracing the subtleties of existence. It is a way of moving through life without the hurry, a commitment to presence, a devotion to self-understanding. Which one are you? Do you seek the solace of home as a retreat, a laboratory, or a sanctuary? Or do you live alongside someone who does, unaware of the depth, the courage, and the wisdom in their quiet choice? To recognize this trait is to honor it, to see that richness does not always travel on loud footsteps or crowded streets. Sometimes, it rests in a chair by the window, in the hush of a quiet evening, or in the soft hum of a home that listens back. If this change how you see people, or even yourself, pause for a moment and reflect on the spaces you inhabit. How do they shape you? How do you shape them? And remember, contentment is not a location. It is an attention, a practice, a way of being. The people who love staying home teach us that life's most profound experiences often reside where the world least expects to find them, within.